Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy. So now, at the end of yesterday's video, I talked about using this deck to come up with questions, the questions that I would ask it. So here we are. We're going to try that now. Let's see if that works. So this is where the deck itself generates its own spread. So let's see if that is possible. And one of the things I'm wondering is, should I use the first card as like a theme? For example, self-love, and then each thing is a question. Each card is a question around the theme of self-love or something. But as I say that, I'm thinking, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the bottom. The bottom card is going to be the subject card. What is the subject? Oh, I'm feeling very foolish right now, like I'm jumping off the deep end. 6 of arrows. So to me, that's saying that the questions, I need to frame the questions around the idea of exiting, leaving one situation and going to another, and very possibly going home. That's what I've often seen the 6 of arrows as somebody who tried to make something work and it didn't, like marriage, and it didn't. You just happen to admit it, you're through with it, and you're returning to a safe haven, returning home. So these are the questions that I need to ask myself in regards to that. 3 of Wands. Very appropriate, of course. I'm wondering, does this need to be the question, am I ready? Or when will I be ready? Or in a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, you see the ships coming in. In this particular card, you see, so in the 2 of Wands in this deck, the figure in the middle is still holding on and getting energy. It's like they're being charged up by these 2 wands. It's like they're getting the energy. And then in this card, it's like the person is fully charged and is able to depart and has his own wand that is part of his body. So maybe it is, am I ready, from this deck. All right. And I'm just going to take this as ready to move. Am I ready to move? And the moving I would be doing would, I'm guessing, would be, well, it could be any number of things. I'm just going to say, am I ready to move? Next, I'm just going to do 3. Oh, 3 of Wands, 4 of Wands. Interesting. I'm going to say with this, because you see that they're being greeted, are other people, or how about this, are the people who would help me ready for me to move? In other words, it's not just about me. It's about, this is like, to me, This card is like when we make it to the little island in the back here. You know, it looks like there are figures waiting for this person here. So to me, it's like this right here. Sorry for all the glare there. Is that little mound with the people on it. And there we are, meeting. So are they ready to receive me? Okay, and one more. Oh, and we're going backwards. So here's the two. So that's all I have is the 2, 3, and 4 of wands. How wild is that? If this is am I ready? Well, I know what this is. As somebody with limited energy, I can start out with a charged battery. And by the time this is finished, I need to make sure that I have the ability to charge myself again on the other side. I'm trying to think of how to word that. How do I'm just going to say re-energize myself after the move. So I have to be prepared to go. I have to make sure that that the people who are going to help me are prepared to help me and receive me, presumably on the other side, depending on, if it's an assumption that I'm returning home. And then lastly, the question is, all right, after I make this push and these people help me, you know, for me, it's like even if there are people helping me, I expect to be staggering over the finish line, staggering over the threshold of whatever is my new circumstance. And so I need to have I need to make sure that things are not so difficult that I can't take some time. So it's an interesting, as a question, I think it's a great question and something I wouldn't normally think about. But since I would expect that I would be in a state of needing to recover after making a move of any kind, that it would kind of exhaust my energies and I would need to recharge my batteries, I need to make extra sure that I've planned the move in such a way that I can do that, which means to me, in part, keeping it simple and potentially knowing ahead of time what doctors or clinics would be nearby, and potentially making sure that I take time off not only for the move itself, but for, at least a week afterwards, to make sure that that I'm not seriously depleting myself. So that was useful. Yeah, so kind of as I move forward with this deck and kind of treat it as its own thing, I'm finding the readings more insightful and useful. I feel like pulling just one more. It's the Ace of Wands. So it's just more wands. I mean, you'd think from the way these cards are coming up that I had just reordered the deck or something, and then the next one is the Ace. But not so. Not so at all. So I'm going to see, I mean, I find the questions themselves, and I really have no intention of moving anytime soon. But I thought, while I'm here, I'll go ahead and see about pulling cards in answer to these questions. And maybe in doing that, I'll discover that I shouldn't do that. That what I should just do is just take these as questions that are important for me to consider before making any sort of move, and these things I need to consider in planning any sort of move. To me, even if I pull again in answer to these, the questions created here, if the next three cards I pull in answer are completely useless and don't make any sense to me, in many ways it doesn't matter to me, because I got insight out of the questions asked. They're, I think, structurally, it's the word that comes to mind, they're structurally very important to proper planning and making it a success. So yeah, very interesting. But we'll go ahead and pull some cards for the questions, for the answers to the questions, and see what. Even that this ended up being the theme is really interesting to me. Given where I'm at right now, I wouldn't feel that that would be the theme, because I feel like that any move is still years down the line. But, all right, question number 1, am I ready to move? Well, to me, this would say yes. That's not what I'm thinking, but it's saying yes. It might be saying that my main issue is deciding where. Although this looks like the North Star, and if I was moving toward family, it would be to the north. Are the people who would help me, are the people who would help me ready for me to move? And I would also take that as a yes, or that they are preparing. Because again, to me, this is gathering resources. So maybe they're in a state of preparation. And then how do I re-energize myself after the move? So I'm not quite sure how to read this card. I mean, this is the Strength. I mean, to me, that just tells me that I interpreted the nature of this question correctly. How do I re-energize myself after the move? Well, I mean, she is holding a cup. So to me, hydration is important. There is something very shamanic about this, and you've got this, this energy pattern. Well, it looks like it's mainly going down. And of course, this appears to be very much about energy. But it's not really a card. It's not a card of rest. Maybe it's this. Maybe this is my sister. if I were to move back home, I don't know if I mentioned it. No, I mentioned it yesterday. Um, my sister's a massage therapist, and she certainly knows people who are in the alternative healing fields. Um, so to me, this would, it could indicate her or others in that healing field. Um, it could also indicate making sure that I have um, a strong a strong grounding in my own practice. I've been totally negligent, totally lazy when it comes to doing the energy work. I admit it, and I'm not properly repentant. but that's one of the things I was thinking I would do this evening. And instead I'm doing this. But anyway, I'll start. Uh, I am feeling like I'm getting things organized enough in my life that some windows of time are opening up that don't have anything else dedicated to them, that I could make that my dedicated thing. It seemed like I was going to, oh, and also we've got, so many different animals, as well as this being an animal, and the strength card in a Rider-Waite-Smith often, to me, because of my work with animals, indicates my animals. So if the question is, how do I re-energize myself after the move, I think part of it is making sure that I know what I'm doing with my animals. That my animals are taken care of. They either have a yard or something, so that I'm not worrying about them, so that I can take care of myself. And it could be saying to me that I need to set up for somebody to help me with my animals, wherever it is I move to. I've been thinking about that a little bit, even where I'm living now, helping to clean up their yard, and possibly even doing some walking, something along those lines, that I need to attend to that and make that part of my planning as well for any move that I make. Well, it's saying that I'm ready, and I don't believe it for a second. But very interesting. I'm going to look. Well, I reshuffled for this. So what's at the bottom of the real reshuffling? The Queen of Arrows. It's all about love. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get that much out of the Queen of Arrows there coming up. There's no oohs and ahs or oh yeses coming out of my psyche when I see that. It's more like, oh really? Really? Anyway, so that was interesting. I'm glad I tried that experiment, even though I kind of felt like an idiot starting it. It proved useful. So yeah, I'm glad I was foolish and took the leap. I hope this proves an interesting suggestion for other people who watch. All right, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.